What do you say, everybody? It's Sean Higgs coming at you here. A little intro. I didn't know it was 15 seconds, but what are you going to do? What are you gonna do? It was 15 seconds. Now I'm here. That's all that matters. Listen, Marc Lawrence running a little late today. Victor King indisposed. All right, we'll talk about his pick, though. We'll get to the 3 NFL winners. Mark should be here shortly, but we're going to run through. We'll talk about last night's game. The usual nonsense we hit ahead of time here. We'll do some comments. Hopefully people will be here commenting, even though I'm solo. I wish we had the little faces. I could put them up as missing links. It could be like they're here, but just not here right now. But before we get to Mark's pick, Victor, well, Mark will be here, Victor and myself and our NFL plays. Be sure to hit the like button here. All right? Like button on the YouTube channel. The winner's circle. We're still a little under 14,000. Can we get them? Can we get over 14,000? I've been saying this since the summertime. We haven't hit it. I got to do a better job of coercing you to hit the like button, notification bells, so you know when we do Friday live here, Monday night live, player prop show that I do on Monday Night Football, and of course Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday free picks. Doug Upstone, Chip Trimness, Brian Biller, Matt Fargo, Chip Trimness, Paul Bovey, and Jim Feist do picks on Saturday for NFL. College football's up. Hit the like button, notification bell, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's easy. It doesn't cost you a thing to do. Now, gamblersWORLD.net is our host sponsor site. Now, these are the free picks. And 2-1 last Friday here in the video. 23-14 with Football Friday picks. Marc Lawrence, Victor King, and myself. Actually, Doug Upstone filled in one day, so we give him a W because they went 3-0 that day. Head on over to gamblersWORLD.net. The 3 738 packages are guaranteed. That means we show you a profit or you credit you back, you jump on board. There's a leaderboard. You see how everybody's doing. Pretty easy to do. Win or lose, always the truth, no hiding from the record. It's right there for you. College footies. Bowl season is here, right? It's bowl season. Let's be honest. It's next week's like rivalry week or whatever they call it now, because sometimes they have rivalry games in September. You got 2 weeks of football left. You got this weekend. You got championship weekend. Bowls are here. All right. NFL playoff push time. It's Thanksgiving next week. Get a weekly package. College hoops. We had games at 11 o'clock today. Did you get down on any games? Because the 3 738 packages are great, but you know we have now a daily package. $69.99. Laugh as you will to $69. Everybody loves $69. Get all picks. Now for me, on a day like today, what are you getting? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 college basketball games. 2 college footies. Think about on a college football Saturday when there's a bunch of games. $69.99. And again, not just me, for college or NFL football, most of the 13 guys on the site here are going to have more than 2 plays up. And if you're spending $34, $45, $55 a pick for 2-3 picks a day, that makes no sense. It's like a coupon. It's not stepping over money on the street. Use the $69.99 day pass. All right? All right. We're done selling. I'm done selling. We'll sell more when the guys come in. I'll tell you what they have going on. I know Victor King, Mr. Creole himself, King Creole has a NFL game of the week up. I know Marc Lawrence has got a top college football game up. He's on a 73% run. And me, what am I going to do? I'm having a good, solid 57% run of college football here, 79-60. Excuse me, I won the other night, 80-60 after Miami, Ohio. So 80-60, not too shabby for college footies. But we got a couple comments. We'll talk about some other games here. There's me. Only comment so far. It happens. Danny Dimes getting released by Giants. Yeah, we'll talk about this for a second. Now, I don't know like the whole dead cap space. I looked it up. So he's 22 cap this year. I think $47 million next year dead cap. So you're talking, $70 million. His contract was for $160. Hats off to the Giants for saying, you know what? This isn't the answer. We paid you, but you're not good. Do I blame him? You got no running back. You have a bad offensive line. You got one receiver who is hurt. I don't blame. This is what, Matt Fargo, Doug Ups, and myself, we kind of talked about this yesterday with the quarterback situations. And a lot of these young guys come into teams, new head coaches, sometimes first-year head coaches, but you're a top 5, top 8 pick, and you're on a team that has many flaws. Forget about having no quarterback and the coach wants his guy in there, and maybe you got a banged-up offensive line. Or in the Giants' case, you don't have a running back or offensive line problems or defensive problems. At least they said, you know what? We'll bite the bullet and get rid of you. What are the Jaguars doing with Trevor Lawrence? Should they bite the bullet and move on? I mean, they're firing their coach, and any coach who comes in wants my guy. Gotta get my guy in here. Where's he going? Someone said to me, I was doing my little show, and they're like, hey, how about Danny Dimes to the Cowboys? Now, it doesn't cost nothing. Where are you going, Dallas? He's going to come in and you're what, 2-7? He's going to come in and win 7 in a row and take you to the wild card? If they want some wins, yeah, you pick him up on Monday. He faces his old team with 2 days prep for a short week. I don't know where he's going. Is he a backup, a serviceable backup? Probably. How about, if I'm the Bengals, I'll look to take Danny Dimes, back up Joe Burrow. Quarterback goes down. No one is making him the starter. Well, maybe the Raiders would. Who knows what they're doing. It's we're 2 years into his contract. Maybe this opens the doors for guys like Trevor Lawrence to get canned. We could talk about Ritter for Atlanta. They drafted him high. Let him go. Malik Willis, goodbye. Guys getting rid of quarterbacks. But this one here, do you totally blame him? The quarterback salaries are what they are. You can say you overpaid for him. They didn't want to pay Barkley. Well, maybe they couldn't pay Barkley. They didn't have the money. And honestly, if this team has Saquon Barkley, is it any better? Is it any better? No. Who cares? You don't have, they didn't pay him. That's not why Danny Dimes stinks. It's a interesting thing. Again, I'm wondering if the Jaguars get rid of Trevor Lawrence. You got Mac Jones there. I think that coach is a dead man walking. The Panthers, what are they doing with Bryce Young? So it's sold on Bryce Young. Tennessee bringing in one of these guys? I don't know. It's interesting for sure. Johnson has us have a great weekend. We're going to try to. That is the name of the game. It started off pretty good. I got Miami, Ohio in college football. I have, 3? I got 5 college footies. I'll be posting up packages pretty soon for the weekend in college football. And NFL, I am loaded up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 NFL games for Sunday, John. Seem to like the board a little bit in college in NFL football. Well, in college, not as much as NFL, but 140 games in college football. Bet so far, not too bad. NFL, though, a couple games under 500. So I'm looking to get back on track there with some NFL. A lot of college hoops. A good week to get on board. I'm a college hoops guy. I like my college basketball zone. And we have a lot of day games. We got all these tournaments underway here. We got a couple going on today. And then next Monday, or not next Monday, we should just say Monday, we'll have more tournaments starting up. We got the where are they? Hold on a second. Excuse me. Yeah, I got it here. I got a monster printout of all of these tournaments because you need them. Maui Invitational goes off in Hawaii. Got UConn playing out there. North Carolina, number 5 Iowa State. Auburn's in the mix. Dayton, Memphis. You got some good teams out there. Players Era Festival in Vegas, San Diego State, Creighton, A&M, Oregon, Alabama, Houston. Number 2 Alabama versus number 4 Houston. Good matchup there. Notre Dame and Rutgers. Some of the marquee games there. Vegas Showdown, another one in Vegas. Kansas and Duke. Kansas versus Duke. Seattle versus Furman. Money earning Furman. Battle for Atlantis. Of course, the Burmar is already underway. Legends Classic underway. The Rady Children's Invitational in San Diego. Purdue, NC State, BYU will miss. Fort Myers tip-off. These are what I love. Miami, Ohio, Siena, Jacksonville, Mercer, Michigan and Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Xavier. A lot of like the little guys. We do some little guy action. So a lot of college hoop. Marc Lawrence has arrived. What do you say,
Sean?
Mark?
He's in the house.
Yeah, what's going on? I saw you down there. I was too busy looking at my college hoops for Monday. We got all these tournaments underway starting actually yesterday. A lot of them started up. A few of them started up. So
just be glad you're not an odds maker and you have to put lines on all those games. Whew.
I'm just the guy who goes over their lines. And like last night, it was like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, there's still kind of games weren't even up yet. I was like, I got to get some rest because they'll be up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I got to come back and get at it again. But I was a couple times I was adding like I like to do my stuff the day before. Like NFL, I'm bet ahead of time. I wanted to try to get ahead of a number. And same with college basketball. I like to do overnight betting. The ones I've had added lately, I was like on like an 0-4, 0-5 run. So I was like, you know what? I added one game this morning. So I was like, that's it. I'm not going to race and chase numbers. I'm not going to do that. I said the last 2 days it didn't pay off. And it's November 22nd. I still got 5,000 basketball games to go through March. I don't have to run around and have 40 games today on a Friday.
No, you don't. Nope. No, you don't.
I don't think you've even had a basketball game this year in college hoops.
I don't start basketball till January. I let the opening month of college basketball play itself out, and I'm just buried in football here right now. So we get into January here. They're in the conference play in college basketball. The NBA is well underway, and that's when I jump in the water.
Yeah, I think I always have a good run in November and December because I think me personally, or just maybe the odds makers, it's that the big schools playing, right? So I got mid majors, I got smaller schools. It's a lot of information. I could maybe find a point or two edge, right? Right. Where when it comes to the conference play, by end of January and February, the last 2 years I've just had terrible months. Like I'm taking unders and they're sailing over, and the overs are just 55, 46 games in the CAA. Like I just can't find the handle. So I got to build my up early so I could weather the rough patch that normally comes. Like it is. You get your peaks and valleys in a sport. So,
the one thing that I think I settled in on and learned the most and would pass on to anybody that is kind of like feeling overwhelmed in this business or handicapping games and wondering, when is enough is enough is enough. My philosophy is just let the games come to you. Don't go out and make plays. Let the games come to you. And you can work with them a lot easier and a lot more comfortable that way.
And that's what I try to do because I look at my numbers and then I see them come up and say, okay, where am I going to go from there? And then other times it's like, you know what? If you're not seeing it good or you're seeing it really good, then it kind of weighs on my direction. Like things are going well. I want to kind of, press a little bit like, all right, I got to keep it going. And other times I'm like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it today. Like, although people on Twitter and TikTok in this business, a lot of like your followers, people, they don't want to hear that. They just want constant action. Where some days it's like, they're not there today. I don't know what to tell you. I could have 10 games of college hoops today. I could have 2 tomorrow. I could have 26. I could have 1. I don't know.
Let the games come to you. Don't force them. Exactly right.
Speaking of games coming to us,
yes,
we're going to talk about a couple of football games here. But, last night's game, Pittsburgh-Cincinnati. Started at 3, got all the way up to 4.5, came back down. I like to tell people, like, oh, it's snowing. I'm not a big snow guy.
Pittsburgh-Cleveland, you meant, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Not a big snow guy, not a rain guy. It's all about the wind, right? It's about the win. I saw the line go up. I thought that was interesting. And Pittsburgh here, I really want to talk about their schedule, though, Mark. Because everybody kind of penciled it in like, wow, these guys are playing really well. They're going to be a playoff team. Home field advantage, right? I know you've probably checked out their schedule coming up because their whole second half is against the AFC North. At Cincinnati, home versus Cleveland, at Philly, at Baltimore, home KC, and home Cincinnati. And people think this is they should lock up the the home field advantage here with or at least be a 2 seed. That's a tough schedule. I can see them being 500 coming out of this thing.
Well, that's one reason why I don't think like Cincinnati has given up on the season at all, because they know Pittsburgh's going to be going up against it in these double meaning division games. Right. And you take a look at the current playoff picture. I think Cincinnati's like number 9 seed right now, even though they blew a big game last week, which I'm sure they might regret by season's end. But, the fact of the matter is every team in that division is alive, perhaps maybe other than Cleveland. But every team in that division is alive because they're going to face the gauntlet of playing each other in the month of December.
Yeah. And even Cleveland, they're a game behind Cincinnati.
Yep, there you go.
I mean, they got again, it's 3 wins and 4 wins. But you look at the rest of the AFC, Miami's in second place. They're 4-6. They played better with Tua. The South, the AFC South is Houston 7-4, Indy's 5-6. Who else? 2 in Tennessee and 2 in Jacksonville. No. Kansas City's 9-1, Chargers 7-3, Denver 6-5. I mean, there's going to be a spot for a team to come out of here after. Again, and that's if Pittsburgh kind of runs it and ends up splitting with all these games and gets to 12 wins. Yeah,
unquestionably. That's why teams like Cleveland, who, face it, I'm from Cleveland. I want to see them win. I'm a big fan, so forth, and yada, yada, yada. But even as a fan, and even though they won last night, they're not a good football team.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Maybe perhaps the expectations were a little bit high at the beginning of the season, too high, perhaps. But a lot has happened, and injuries can do that to a football team. When you're decimated at the injury position, you have to rely on second and third string players to fill in key positions here. It never works out. So that's one reason I think Cleveland likely won't even be a threat in the division here. And I would even go so far as to say the team that stays the healthiest, Sean, from here on out will likely win this division.
Yeah. Although Cleveland, they do not quit on their coach. I think they like their coach. So I think they can play a spoiler and steal a couple wins from somebody, or at least cover some games for us on that side of it if they're dogs.
I agree with you. I think they can. They could probably be the kind of a team that no one's going to want to play, if you will. Get in their way type of a game. Like yesterday, I don't think Pittsburgh really wanted to play Cleveland while they were on this nice little run, especially with short rest. And then they had to go into the obviously the ugly weather that was in Cleveland there last night. Probably the same thing would have been in Pittsburgh because the towns are only an hour and a half apart. So, the weather was probably the same in Pittsburgh as it was in Cleveland last night.
We had an earlier comment. It was like the second comment came in. Danny Dimes getting released for the Giants, right?
Yes.
It is kind of shocking because you don't really see teams cut their quarterbacks and swallow these contracts. Like what? I look at Jacksonville as a team that could possibly do that because Trevor Lawrence is 2-13 now in his life.
He's struggling big time, bad. Yes.
They brought in Mac Jones, a guy, he's a top 5 pick. Maybe he's something. I don't know. He looked good when he had a coordinator in New England. Then they switched his coordinator to make a punt specialist, a defensive guys coordinator. I don't know if that helps development. But someone asked me, hey, you think he goes to the Cowboys? Now, I don't think Dallas, you signed him to not winning 7 games to get to 9-8 or something to make a playoff run. But where I think, is he just going to be a backup around? What team would pay him? You don't want to pay him a lot because the Giants are on the hook for $70 million. So where's he going? Is he going to get picked up by somebody? What team's picking him up?
Well, somebody will pick him up. He does have skills. I don't know if he can take you to the Super Bowl, but he's better than a lot of backup quarterbacks that are out there. He just under-delivers when he starts. And who's gonna want to pick up that contract? Some delirious owner, maybe it might be a Jerry Jones.
But again, in that contract, who picks because the dead money is $22 million this year and $47 next year, all right? And then after that, the new team picks up the contract. Is that how it works? I don't know how the NFL dead money thing how that works for teams. I thought the host team.
I'm not clear on that at all either.
Because I looked it up. And I just read it real fast that the Giants have to pay 22 this year and 47 next year.
Wow. How about paying 47 next year? Do they have to pay that if he signs with another team?
No, that's on their dead cap. That's an official hit.
That's a Giants hit, right? So how would you like to be the New York Giants watching Danny Dimes quarterbacking, if you will, for a team in the NFC East? You're paying him money and you're watching him implode the division. It's a really, really bad situation.
I think for him, I think the Bengals would be a good landing spot for him as a backup to Burrow. Just as I think they need now again, I don't have the Bengals coach, but I think they need a backup quarterback. And I would go far to say the Chargers too, to back up Herbert.
Yeah, he would fit in both places. He'd be really nice. You know, what you probably wouldn't want would be a quarterback controversy to begin wherever it is that he goes. You know, it wouldn't help the team, that's for sure. And obviously, at some point when they fall in love with the guy and he does take over and becomes a starter, what do you have again? You got the same situation that you had with the New York Giants again. He looks good, but all of a sudden he cannot sustain. So
no, he's got to be a backup somewhere.
Yes, he does. I think the team with the bigger quarterback issue to have to be resolved is Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns. You're eating a lot of money with him, all guaranteed money. And I don't see him quarterback in the Cleveland Browns next year. I really don't. So
they can't throw him out again. He's been terrible.
Well,
and I was all for giving him. Forget about the off-field stuff. But he was gone, and he had to come back and try to get back in game shape and all this nonsense. At this point, you had half a year, and this year you're still not being good. So at this point, you got to move on a little bit.
He was injured a lot this year, and not that that's an excuse. And the offensive line has been just a fraction of what it's been before because they've been decimated with injuries too. He never really had a chance to get on track. I'm not defending him at all because I thought that was the worst trade in National Football League history. And I'm not saying it out of hindsight. I'm saying it before it happened. You know, you can't hawk the future like that for one guy like that who's got all kinds of off the field issues here.
Just the baggage alone, you had to be a little hesitant.
Absolutely. And to this day, Sean, the Cleveland Browns fans detest him. They don't like him at all. They never warmed up to him. Winning would change that, obviously. If he would have been able to play well, win some football games when they didn't need Joe Flacco, that might have been a different situation because winning resolves everything. But I don't see it happening with Cleveland. I think they just fed up. They've seen enough, and I think they're going to go in a different direction.
Yeah, I think so as well. We're going to rush through the comments real fast, and we'll get to our games because there's only a few of them here. College hoops tonight, Duke, Arizona. Big game. Well, it's a big game for Arizona too. I would give me some Duke here. I think Duke's Arizona kind of like chokes a little bit against the big. This is a home game for them basically, but I sort of lean Duke. I know you're not all that enamored with college hoops in November, but this is a bigger game. We'll just go to the next one here. Paul's still live in the Survivor Contest Gamblers World, some of the best cappers in the world. Are you still in you're still in the VSiN Invitational, circa?
Yeah, in fact, I'm in a tie for second place right now, so just got to keep the ball rolling there some way, somehow. Yeah. We're doing okay there.
I was out early. I was the first guy out, second guy out.
Well, I've been there before.
And I was saying on my little show, I said, you get in contests with guys who are contest pickers. And the first week I had a loss. That's fine. The second week, I kind of went a little off my thought process thinking I got to pick up a game or two. Then all of a sudden you're down. And I was like panicking. I'm like, and again, I shouldn't have. Now looking back, like, okay, it's week 2. I can still collect wins. But I was so set on I have to leapfrog and get back and I need to pick up my wins against their wins and not be on the same game, and then it just spiraled out of control. Like I could not do better than like 3 wins a week, 2 wins. It was bad for me. Not a good run for me in the contest.
Some of the people in that they have niches. Steve Fezzik's all about value. Chuck Edel's an over/under totals guy. They all have different handicapping styles, and they stick to those styles. I'm a huge underdog player. I don't think I played a favorite in that contest yet this year, and probably may not by the end of the year. I don't know. May or may not. Just depends upon the lack of attractiveness of underdogs. But there's a lot of attractive underdogs in college football this time of the year. So I'm not going to worry about that. When it gets to be NFL only in the month of December, that might be a different case. But like you said, everybody's got their style and what it is that they do. And as long you just have to stay in your lane, just keep doing what it is that you do, and don't be creative. I don't want to all of a sudden become a totals guy. That's
what I did. I got off of how I usually think, because there's a cutoff coming in a few weeks. And again, this is in week 2 or 3, but it's still in my head. I'm like, I need to leapfrog people. And I knew going in, like, these are guys who've won the big contests. Like, so they know how they're doing their thing. They got it all planned. It was just, I should have just took the wins, and they would have just worked themselves out, and then I could get creative when I have to, and just kind of been in the thick of things. So it was like a just big pack in the middle at one point. And I'm like, that's where I should be. And then I'm going to hit my little groove, and then I'll have that nice 6-1 day, and then I could kind of get a little breather. But I was just I can't have what they're going to have. So it was just nothing that nobody else had. I was totally picking because I didn't want to have the same picks, because I'm not going to gain any ground.
It sort of goes a little bit with the story that I have. I'll share with you. I don't know if I've shared this before. If I have, please stop me. But in the last year of the Stardust Invitational, 2005, I happened to win that. I was very fortunate. And I was in the finals against Fezzik, who was very, very popular. And he had won it the year before. In fact, he was a 2-time champion, the only 2-time champion of the Stardust. So we're in the finals. And like you said before, handicappers have styles, and you have to recognize your competition and what it is they do, because handicapping in contests is different than handicapping for your business or for your pocket. And, so you have to know your competitor, the people that you're up against. Well, I know Fezzik's all about value, 100% pure value. If there's any number that's off an advantage to him, that's right where he's going. So we had to put in 7 plays for that final week of the contest. And I knew where he would go just based on value. So I said to myself, do I want to have to outpick him in a 7-pick contest? Or would I want to line up with him on a handful of games and make it like a 3-game pick contest? And it's exactly what I did. We lined up on 4 games, exactly the same sides, because there were value. And I knew it's where he would go. And so it ended up coming down to a 3-pick contest, and I managed to win that by winning 2 of those 3 games, and he won 1 of those 3 games. So that's just a strategy that comes about when you're playing in contests as opposed to what it is when you're pocket.
And that's, listen, Paul's was doing good in the contest. That's crazy. There's like, that we're all in it. But you see a lot of, when I get the email from Bill, they come in with the picks. A lot of guys are all on the same kind of stuff, like you're thinking. You know how your other guys are going to think. So, all right, we'll all be on 4 or 5 games. We'll all go 3-2 or 4-1. But then it comes down to those other games that are going to separate you from where I was trying to go 7 the other way. Like I got to
7 opposite, right?
Yeah. So the contest for me was difficult. I was like, I called humans. Like, I was so embarrassed, Matt. I said, so he's like, listen, contests are tough, man. He's like, don't worry about it. I said, I am worried about it, and like, I'm up with all these cats, and I do the worst. But I got nervous. I'm not gonna lie, I was like panicked. I'm like, I got to do something different here. I was trying to be too cute, and I turned into a big ugly duckling. It was terrible.
Well, if you get back in it next year, stick to your game plan. Don't do anything different. Stick to what it is that you do best. That's
where I lost myself, because by week 2 I was like, the sky's falling. Oh my goodness, what can I do here? And then it was just completely off the rails. But that's, again, contests are like you said, man, they're totally different than everyday betting. But all right, let's. You know what? I was gonna say we do some comments, but let's get to some of these games here first. So we're gonna talk about Victor's game. He's not here. Had to take care of a couple things. So he had the New England Miami game. Tua's been in there. They're putting up points. I think they're like 27, 28 points a game since he's been in here. I was thinking, you see the 7, it almost looks like they're begging to take New England in that spot. I don't know. I kind of lean Miami, but Victor, the official show pick from Victor is going to be on the over in this game. It's a 46. Victor likes the over. He just sent the email. So, but that's what he likes. I kind of tend to think that way, because I think New England's the Dolphins will score. So I like Miami. I'm going to say okay to his over because I want at least like 34 for my guys. But I don't know if you have anything on that one because we were in it's his game. But
Well, this is the kind of a team in Miami right now, Sean, that you're going to look back at the end of the season and say, "Wow, why didn't I get on this team earlier?" Or couldn't I see this coming? You could see it coming when Tua came back, and the offense all of a sudden had a spark. And now in football games, they're only a game or game and a half out of the playoffs seeding right now. So they could well be a playoff football team. And right now, if they stay healthy, Tua, Waddle, Tyreek Hill, a couple of good running backs here, good defense. They have the makings of being a pretty good football team. I'm with you. I think I would lay the points here with Miami against New England because the game means something to Miami. It means nothing to New England.
Yeah. I mean, he's come back 27, 27, 23, 34. I mean, the offense has found itself, which it should because he's better than what's his name? The guy from Skylar Thompson or Hunter, Tyler Huntley or whoever they had.
White. They had the kid White, the back from the New York Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He was there with him for
a
while, too.
Matt White was his name, I think. Yeah, so, again, over 46 from Victor. 23-14 with Football Fridays here, folks. 2-1 last week, so pretty good here. These are the free picks. We're trying to win them all for you, and Football Friday has delivered. But Mark's got one here for us. Kansas City and Carolina. It's a big spread, and I always kind of throw you the big spread kind of games a little bit because you always come in with good information. 11-43. You got Carolina off a bye week, Kansas City off had a couple close wins. You go to Buffalo, you lose there by 9. You got a short week coming up versus the Raiders. You got a Black Friday game next Friday. So I don't know. We'll be doing a show live. That's at 3:00, so it won't be during show times. But I don't know here. I want to take Carolina. I'm sure you won't talk me off Carolina if I like the 11 points. But what do you think? Chiefs 11, total 43 against the Panthers. Extra.
Well, if you were in Kansas City here, Sean, I would try and talk you off the Kansas City ledge. Is what I would do. Okay.
All right.
We don't. It's not easy to fall in love with and wrap your arms around the Carolina Panthers, but there are situations, and handicapping is all about situations. And the situation in this game is not good for Kansas City for a couple of reasons. Number one, you mentioned Carolina's off that bye week. There's no better situation in using teams off of bye weeks when they've had that week of rest and they're getting 6 or more points. Those plays are like gold. That's Carolina in this particular role. Then you've got Kansas City here, defending Super Bowl champion, takes their first loss, and now they're a favorite of more than 7. That's a real good fade because they tend to keep their chin in the mat. Then you've also got in here Kansas City perhaps arguably playing down to the level of the Carolina Panthers, of which wouldn't surprise anybody because Kansas City is famous for one-score games. So I think you wrap this whole thing up. I think there's only one way a person could look here, and that would be the Carolina Panthers.
Carolina plus 11, official show pick. Marc Lawrence, writing it down here because I do keep track of our little records here. Carolina plus 11. Not too shabby. Good. Because I liked it. I had already bet them at a 11.5 last week on one side. So I looked at it as it's off Buffalo, playing down to a team on a bye week. Not that it's a look ahead. Do teams really do that? I don't know. But for a better standpoint, I look at it that way. I know people say it's not. NFL guys don't do that. Maybe they don't, but it's in my head. I don't know what these guys think. You got short weeks, big games. They're like Carolina. Who cares? And like you said, they play one-score games. They don't care about beating teams. And this team, this isn't even a really good team. Let's be honest. Mahomes is having a pedestrian year. Defense is good, but it's a bending, not breaking. I could see Carolina putting a couple points here and not make it in the game, but 23-13, they can score something late. Let's go. Take the 11.
Well, like you said, Kansas City plays an inordinate amount of one-score games. Whether the competition's good or whether the competition's bad, they check that box every time, almost every time. So how can you make a case for going out and laying Kansas City when they're struggling off with their offense right now? Mahomes is having probably the worst year of his career. You would never imagine that when this team only has one loss, but he's not playing well. And right now they're not in the most favorable position in the situation that they're at, having their bubble burst. That's a big angle that I love to use in college football and use it also whenever teams get out to really great starts. In pro football, for instance, if you take a look at the National Football League team, and any time a team starts out the season 6-0 or better, and then they lose their first game, and I'm talking about Super Bowl defending champions, so that they come back like Kansas City did. They start out 6-0 or better. They lose that first game. What do these guys do? It's happened 13 times. They've won 8 and 5. They've lost 5 times straight up to lose a second time in a row. And they've gone 5 and 8 against the spread, which doesn't surprise me at all because it's a bubble burst type situation for Kansas City here. So I hate to be hammering a point home to go out and pile on and, let's load up on Carolina this week. But Kansas City, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole this week.
I wonder if this is going to be like baseball. So I kind of bashed the Dodgers this year. I said they're not winning 105 games. Their pitching staff, bunch of 5-inning guys, but injury prone. They still go out and win the World Series ugly, right? Have a bullpen day in the World Series. Can Kansas City, in a year where Mahomes maybe throws like 25 touchdowns and double-digit interceptions and not be a top 5 or 10 offense, can they come back and win a three-peat in a year where they've just been absolutely probably not the best team in football, but just have the good – like that would just be not that he's GOAT status. This would definitely, I think, catapult Andy Reid to me on par with your Belichick's and your Super Bowl winners of like your Landry's and Knowles and Bill Walsh type guys and Belichick's. Because this team is definitely a flawed unit, but yet why do I sense they'll be playing deep into January?
That question ties perfectly into what's real popular now is in-game wagering. And if you looked at the season as an in-game wager as opposed to the game itself, one of the best plays you make in in-game wagering, and I don't play in-game wagering, but I understand one of the best plays you make is taking a favorite who's getting beat straight up, and you can get them cheap in an in-game play and let the game play out, and while the game's over, and they did come back and win. So what happens if Patrick Mahomes finds his groove here in the second half, and all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes plays like Patrick Mahomes? They could be undeniably the best team in football, and there might not be anybody there to stop them if they can get their act together here. So they've gotten this far with his poor play. What happens when he performs well? That's the question here.
Yeah, because you keep waiting for that shoe to drop for a good performance.
Yep.
Anyway, Carolina plus 11, Marc Lawrence official show pick. Victor King is on the over 46 Miami. Now, these are the free picks. Hit the like button for the free picks. 23 and 14 here in the video. But gamblersworld.net for all the premium action. Victor has a NFL game of the week up. Go get it, gamblersworld.net. Marc Lawrence, a top college football play this weekend, I believe. Right, perfect play going in college footies.
Well, it's my once a year 10-star college football game of the year.
There you go.
On Saturday's card, it's loaded now on Gamblers World, and I don't have to preface it and say anything to anybody, but yes, it is another live dog that I see winning the game straight up.
There you go. Go get it. Go get it. Support Mark, the channel, Gamblers World, the show. Get that big winner from him. Now, don't wait. Stuff your turkey with money, not nasty stuffing. But although that probably won't taste good eating $100 bills, but when you have a lot of them, who cares? You can dip them in mayonnaise or something. I don't know. Now, speaking of woeful Thanksgivings, we got the Dallas Cowboys and Giants coming up on Thanksgiving. But
my goodness.
Before we get to that, I got the Cowboys and the Washington Commanders here on Sunday. Oh, my goodness.
And I thought you gave me all the bad teams, Sean.
Yeah, but at least you got the Kansas City side of things. You got to sound like a good team there. At least it's Kansas City. We could talk about. I mean, Dallas Monday night got your butt kicked. You're coming in here. You were a I think a 7-point favorite in August and even September in this matchup. Now you're a 10-point dog, and then you got a short week next week with the Giants. The sky is falling. You got the Parsons calling out the coach, and then has to go back and say, well, I really didn't mean what I said, but it's just, the turmoil here. It's a hot mess team. I said this at the beginning of the season. Rebuilt offensive line. No, I do this. I'll say on repeat because this is why they have 2 wins. Offensive line's bad. No running backs. one wide receiver, a defense with a new coordinator, a whole new scheme. It's a mess. Now you lose your quarterback. And yeah, you can be excited. Oh, Cooper Rush came in. He won 4 or 5 games before. Yeah, well, in 2022 when he was playing, that was a whole different team. Elliott and Pollard, they were a formidable tandem. They had Hall of Famers on the offensive line. The defense was run by the guy they're facing today, who's turned this team around in Washington. This is not the same team, folks. This is absolutely bad. They lose by 24 to the Texans, 28 to Philly, 38 to Detroit, 25 to New Orleans at home. They were 16-0 at home the last 2 years. They're not flipping the switch here and making this competitive. This is not going to be a close game. Like Quinn doesn't want to come in here and bash Jerry Jones' head in with a bat like he's Negan in The Walking Dead to let him not getting a job in Dallas. Get out of here.
That's a great point. You got the Dan Quinn factor at work here as well.
Mean, this is Washington. Again, Mark will tell you, right? You don't make really money in the NFL laying double-digit favorites. It's not something to do in divisions. I do not care. I'll lay 10 here. I will lay an alternate 17. I think this is a 34-13 kind of game. I don't see how Dallas stays within 20. How are they staying within 20 here? How are they putting up points? They don't put up points. They have no running game and a bad offensive line, Mark.
My problem here, Sean, is I have a difficult time separating myself from my database. And the database talks a lot of history to me. And, I'll read the numbers for what they are, look at them, acknowledge it. And if it agrees to what it is that I'm looking at statistically, fundamentally, I'll use that as an enhancer. But if it has standalone stuff, it's really, really difficult for me to pass on standalone stuff. Like you look at Washington when they've been favored against Dallas. I mean, the last 34 times, you've only beat the spread 8 times. And now you're going to lay double digits. So it's that type of stuff. But I'm with you. I wouldn't touch Dallas with another 10-foot pole, which means I won't touch the football game. You have to make a pick on the game, though I don't.
I'm taking the Commanders. I'm laying a 10. I'm going to look for an alternate like 19.5. I think they win. Dallas has not been competitive in a game. Competitive you lose. You beat the Giants by 5. Okay, yeah, Dak. You beat the Steelers on a last-second play, which maybe you shouldn't even won that game. You had Dak. When is Trey Lance coming into play here? We know Cooper Rush is a backup. Is Lance going to get a shot here for Dallas to see if he's a backup or maybe a starter? I mean, he was a number 3 pick. Team traded up for him. And, Mark, you remember, I mean, people bet on this guy to win the MVP on that team. They were betting him like the Niners are winning the Super Bowl when they drafted Trey Lance.
Well, wasn't that the draft, Sean, when everybody thought Mac Jones was going to go as the number 3 pick, and then the big trade was made? And San Francisco made the big trade to move up, and they took Trey Lance at number 3 instead. Yeah, it was like, oh my God, that might have been if the Browns trading to get Deshaun Watson isn't the worst pick, that might have been the worst pick as well. San Francisco making that big move up to take Trey Lance at number 3, and how many snaps did he take with the 49ers in his career? I would say somewhere south of 50. Okay.
Yeah, I listen. Not that I'm comparing him with Caleb Williams, but my thought on him was the same thing as fading Caleb Williams this year. I had the Bears. It was like a rainy monsoon in game 1. Seattle in game 2, although the Niners ended up winning that game because he got hurt, and then whoever came in backing up, or I think it was Purdy probably, or I don't even know, whoever came in, or Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever the case would be, came in, won a game, and they ended up covering. But yeah, people bet him out of the house. Like, here we go, MVP. They're going to the Super Bowl. They were okay. Again, who knows, right, Mark? This is the same thing we see here with these quarterbacks: Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, any kind of quarterback, young guy on a team. You don't know what could be. He get hurt. He doesn't play. Whatever happens. I don't know what kind of quarterback this guy is. What did we see out of him in a game and a half? You have no clue, because then the preseason comes. We're not going to let this guy play in the preseason. We know what is happening here.
Well, I think what they found with Trey Lance to be the problem is that he was groomed in the minor leagues. He played FCS football. It didn't play all that long there either. He just had a couple of good-looking game films. He looked physically the part for the National Football League, strong arm. And they take that and they say, okay, you're the prototypical quarterback we're looking for in the NFL. You got speed, quickness, blah, 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 blah. But he didn't do it against anybody. It's like if you put it up against high schools, what are you going to do against professional teams? And that's, I think, what exactly caught up with Trey Lance.
I was going to try to dig to find some of his stats just on his career, but why even waste our time on that? Give me the Washington Commanders minus 10 here, 11, whatever the case may be here. I will lay it with the Commanders. I'll look for an alternate up to 19.5 because I think it's a 20-point minimum win here. That's how confident. And again, there's my Randy Whiteside mini helmet. I'm a Dallas fan. I'm not just bashing him because I'm a fan, or I'm a fair fan. I give honest assessments of teams. All right, this team is terrible. I thought it was terrible to start the year. They proved my point. Thank you, Dallas. Again, Washington for me minus the 10 points. Carolina plus 11 for Marc Lawrence. King Creole himself, Victor King, with us in spirit today. Over 46, Miami. Those are the 3 free picks. 23 and 14. Again, head to gamblersworld.net for all the premium stuff. Mark's game of the year, Victor's game of the week, and me, I just have regular games all over the joint. So go knock them out. Support the channel and us cappers here at gamblersworld.net. Now, comment time. I did 2, and then it was like, let's move on. Ninja's looking for Master Roshi. He is out today. He will be back. The Winers are going to lose again. Yes, I like Green Bay. I don't know. Mark likes Green Bay. This line has moved to I thought I saw a 3 on this one now from a 1, Mark.
Well, you do have that playoff revenge angle there for Green Bay, which should stir them up. But my concern here is San Francisco is a really good football team in need who hasn't played really good football. And I don't like laying points into the 49ers, especially if McCaffrey has a game, and they can kind of put things together here. I don't know for sure if that's where I want to be in this game. So is the question I got to ask you is Kittle's playing for San Francisco? The tight end?
Oh, good question. Good question. Is Kittle's in? Is he even a difference maker anymore even?
Well, he is. Every team needs a good tight end. He was arguably 1, 2, or 3 best tight ends in the National Football League a couple of years ago, but he's still their starting tight end, and he can still turn a game around. But it's another football team that's been banged up and decimated with injuries here, and I still have not bought into Jordan Love here either, by the way. I think there's too much hype going on around him, and I just don't think he delivers the goods.
He was limited in practice.
Kittles?
Limited fashion yesterday on Thursday, Kittles. So take that for what it's worth. Limited action. Let's see. Good.
I say we'll find that out in warmups, because if this game moves and it's moving more to the dog to San Francisco, it's moving like he's not going to play. Now, the argument is he enough of a player to warrant a move? I don't believe that he is.
Exactly. That's why.
Yeah, I don't believe it. But it's all the injuries that they have. That's what really adds up. And I don't call them cluster injuries. Cluster injuries are basically a group of injuries that would affect like an offensive line or a defensive line or a secondary or something like that.
They've just been banged up the entire season, all over the place.
Right. Exactly right.
Where's the Green Bay line here? Yeah, it's up to 3 flat, 3 and even money now. So that's where we're at with this game. This was, again, Green Bay was a plus 1.5 dog before Sunday's games, by the way. Not the full flip.
I really was a little bit surprised at the line. I really thought it would open like a pick 'em, because there is a lot of support for Frisco, especially out in Vegas. But the Sharps, the first thing they do is pour through those injury reports. And
this Niner team has been the entire season. I thought I like the under because I just feel, how many Super Bowls and NFC championships can you go to and just kind of feel like, here we go again. And again, it's not that they don't listen to their coach and we talked about this last week too with them. They're not the Chiefs where they, all right, we don't got to cover a game. We could just win. They're not even winning. They're 5-5, and they've been favored in all 10 games this year, Mark.
Wow.
Like, I think there's, whether it's the injuries or whatever, I don't know. There's more than crazy. The schedule's been tough. They got a lot of short weeks, prime time, this and that. The whole kit and caboodle for them to me is just not a team. I think it's just going to be a down year. I mean, it's easy to say when they're 5-5 now, but even coming into the season, I thought, I don't know, something about them.
Well, the indicator, like you said, Sean, is the fact they've been favored in every football game they played, which tells us that they've underperformed. It tells us also that Vegas holds them in high esteem. I don't think Vegas is going to want to let go of that, and that's a little bit why I was a little bit surprised at the pick to open the game, or what I thought would have been a pick.
All right, next up, comment-wise here we go. Ryan, Mr. Aggie himself, loves Texas A&M. A&M by 10 over Auburn. I told him, I said, this 2.5 here, I do not like it. Like, this one to me just screams Auburn outright in this one. And this is coming from a guy, I want them to beat Texas the next week to say, hey, why aren't we getting in the playoffs? Because we beat Texas. Texas loses to Georgia. Georgia loses to Alabama. Like, how are you not in the playoffs when you beat a team ahead of you and you have the same record? So I want them to win this game so they could beat Texas and then have an argument for being in the playoffs, which they're probably not going to get to. But honestly, I think they lose to Auburn here. 2.5 looks like they're just begging you to take A&M.
Yeah, it's a kind of a game that people say, why is it only 2.5? And the answer is because it's what the odds makers make the game. You don't question the odds maker. Just decide whether or not you like to play as a handicap at the 2.5. And I happen to like Auburn at plus 2.5 here.
Right.
A little bit more from both sides, my database and also the statistical portion or part of this football game. You look at Auburn here, what they've done now. I don't think people realize this, but their last 3 football games they've played, they haven't allowed more than 227 yards in any of their last 3 football games. They're really cooking on defense here right now. This is their last home game of the season. They need 2 wins to become bowl eligible. They got Alabama up next, but that you talk to the Auburn players, they're not worried about Alabama. That's why they signed at Auburn. They figure they're going to beat Alabama every year.
Yes.
It's this game, okay, that they're going to come focused for in this football contest. And the other side is talking about the stats. Break down A&M stats this year. A team that's a lot of name and reputation, but they're not delivering the goods statistically on the field. They've been outgained in 4 of the last 6 football games they've played. That's not a sign of a good football team when you keep getting pushed around the field. And that's the reason, Sean, that they're only a 2.5-point favorite.
Well, Ryan comes into my midday money and I say, listen, like against South Carolina, I said, they're winning. LSU's missing field goals. I said they're getting out-yarded, outside. I said you can't play with fire like that and not get picked off somewhere. And you got picked off at South Carolina. I think this is another spot where they could get picked off. And the line tells me they're going to get picked off.
The line, listen to the line. In fact, yesterday, just speaking of that, just because we're talking about that, and I don't want to drift off the Alabama and this football game because there's a lot of good college football games this weekend. But my brother-in-law calls me yesterday from Cleveland. He says, why are the Browns only getting 3.5 points? And, it's like, the perception is, Pittsburgh should be laying a touchdown. Okay. Yeah. But, again, it's there for a reason. And, you have to figure out what it is that the odds maker was attracted to about, with the line being that short. And there's a reason the line in this A&M game is that short.
Upset alert for NFL, Ryan wants to know. Who's the upset alert team this weekend?
That's kind of a tough question because this NFL football card couldn't be any lousier as far as matchups are concerned. And when I say that, there's only one game that involves a pair of teams that have winning records. You've also got a handful of buys, teams playing in buys this week. So you got a shorter schedule. Yeah. You've only got one attractive game. That's the Sunday night or Monday night game. So nothing on Sunday. This looks as barren of a football card in the National Football League on Sundays as I've seen all football season long. So who is the upset alert? Would it be an upset if anybody won on Sunday? That's a bad team playing another bad team. I don't know. I really don't know about that. It's tough to say. The Colts, maybe.
I was going to say, the Colts at home against 7.5. Maybe Detroit has a slip up. But my number one would be probably the Bears. I know Vikings have come back to the pack a little bit, and the Bears off another rough loss. Now, 3.5. It was what, 6? Right? It was a 5 opener, and it came down to 3.5. Listen, at 5, sure, the Bears 3.5. It's like, ooh, now it's like they're teasing me here to take the Bears at 3.5.
Well, you have to wonder, how much fuel is left in the tank after that hard loss they had to Green Bay last week. It was
hard loss. It was a win.
It
You won the
was a
game.
win.
Your field goal was blocked.
Yes, it was a win until
it wasn't. It was a win until it wasn't. But I'm just saying from the point of how do you recover from that? Washington, what happened? You went on the road and got blitzed by Arizona after a game like that. And then you come home, all right, we got a rival. We're going to battle. Again, you probably should have won.
Yep.
You should have won. Not even coming down to that play, you probably should have won either way. And then who did they just fire another coach, right? The offensive coordinator's out now? Or defensive? Who did they get rid of?
I think it was an offensive coordinator because Eberflus was taking heat about the.
That's right. Because I think I did the Bears game last week in that one, or we were talking about it. I said, you fired a coordinator. I'm bringing the coordinator from the Panthers who's running Bryce Young into the ground. I was like, what is that move? The Bears for me is I upset special there, I guess. Ninja, why the Sixers laying points? They stink. It's like the Jets laying points. How can you trust the teams to cover you at a lone win? Well, this line's come down because we had no Embiid here. Again, the Nets have been covering, like the Raptors. They might be a bad team. You're going to give me points with a bad team who covers. I'll take it. I don't care if they lose. Let me see the other team actually play a good game, Ninja.
Yeah, what qualification do they have of laying points? That's the question here.
Yeah. No, thank you. The truth, I can see the Lions being an upset alert this weekend. It's possible. Now, for me, I see 7.5. Truth, you know this from watching me. I see 3.5, 7.5. Mark, I want to bet the faves. I'm not falling into the old okey doke like, oh, look at this half point. I feel like 2.5 at 6.5. I'm all on the dogs because all I hear is like what your friend says. Oh, how are they not favored by a touchdown? Like, oh, they just got to win by a field goal. They just got to win by a touchdown. Easy. I'll go up. That's my opposite think there. I'll always take the dogs at 2.5, 6.5, and the favors at 7.5 and 3.5 because.
Well, remember one thing, Sean. The question is, like you say, how can they win the game at 2.5? The players don't take that into consideration at all. No. They're just playing to win the game. They're not playing to win the game by a margin. So the question is, can they win the game? So sometimes we can be influenced by the line, say that the line's shaded a little bit too much one way or shaded a little bit too much the other way. But again, that's what we have Vegas for. That's what we have the odds makers for. We let them do the work, and we handicap what they present and put on the table for us to handicap.
That is all we can do.
Yep.
John Putnam says, talk about backup quarterbacks. How about Detroit? Who's their backup if Goff goes down? Well, they got Hooker and they got is Nate Sudfeld still out there? But they drafted the kid from Tennessee.
Yeah, Hooker, right.
Listen, I prefer a veteran kind of guy, but they draft these young guys thinking they got stars.
I don't think they're worried about a backup there right now, though. Jared Goff is playing. If Lamar Jackson wasn't having the type of year he had, Jared Goff would be right at the top of the list of MVP candidates. My concern about this football game this week, though, Sean, is this. They played such a huge game last week. It was another no-hit performance, a perfect game, a perfect passer rating by Goff. They win the game by 475 yards. I don't know if I remember seeing a football team beat another team by 400. And you know what that means? That means you go up and down the field almost 5 times in total net yardage here. That was unbelievable what they did last week. Do they have that in them again this week? I think the law of averages says there's a return to the norm and there's a bounce for Detroit this week.
Yeah, especially the Bears on Thanksgiving. They could say whatever they want. They know it's Thanksgiving this week. The whole world knows. It's not just a regular game. It's Thanksgiving. So they'll probably be licking their chops for that game instead of this one. And the Colts are a feisty bunch. Were they 8-3 against the spread? These guys just somehow cover numbers left and right. They're 8-1 first half ATS. The Colts.
It's kind of like whenever you mention the Colts, and people will, they'll shrink. Ugh. But look who's writing checks. The Indianapolis Colts are writing checks this year.
Yes.
So they're overachieving in that sense, right?
Panthers Chief under the 43. I don't agree with this one. And as much as I think the Chiefs are a defensive kind of team and Carolina's bad, Carolina goes over the total because the lines are so low. And I think that also coming out of bye week, maybe they have a little trickery and some kind of something in store here. I expect them to score like out of the gate. So I would say over in this one.
Well, just remember, if we learned anything on the show here today, Sean, one golden nugget from my database, NFL dogs of 6 or more off a bye week, put them in the bank. That's all I can tell you.
There you go. I like him. Stop betting on poop overrated teams, says Ninja. Yes, that's a recipe for success there. Poop overrated teams. To avoid them. Mark will agree. Probably not word verbatim in his database, but there's got to be something in there for overrated teams, I'm sure. Broncos, Chargers. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say that just almost falls into the ABO theory that I like to pass around is always beware of the obvious. When it's so obvious, you got to start looking the other way.
Broncos, Chargers now be played at Thursday night prime. Browns and Bengals move to Sunday at 5. Well, yeah, I thought that was the game anyway. No? Hold on. They switched to Thanksgiving Day? Hold on a second.
I don't think
they
wouldn't switch a Thanksgiving Day game, would they?
Hold on a second. Oh, no, it's Miami, Green Bay. Oh, he's talking about this has got to be the week after, I guess.
The week after
December. Yeah, it's got to be that December game. Right? I mean, because Broncos, Chargers, Browns, Bengals. What week is this? What is it?
Let me take a look here.
Browns. I was just say what week? Because Cleveland's playing Denver on Monday night, and then the week after that we got Green Bay and Detroit on Thursday night.
Well, Cleveland gets Denver next.
Green Bay, Detroit, Rams, Frisco, Denver Chargers. This guy's December 19th, Ninja. This guy. Where's the band? We got to get the band button for this guy, Ninja. Make him go December 19th, Mark.
December 19th. My goodness, that's when I start Christmas shopping,
Yeah, I mean, December 19th, he's coming here with December 19th. I was like, what's going on here? We're changing games. I was like, Mars popping in at the end of the show. Indiana plus 12. How's Ohio State favorite? Right, this many points. I get 3 to 5 at 12. Well, it was 9.5. It went to 13.5 before coming back down here. They are favored as much based on 1, strength of schedule, probably who they play. 2, it's Indiana, hasn't been good for years. There's no respect for them. And 3, Ohio State is a team that, again, the line went up for a reason. The Sharps are going to come in at 9.5, 10s. It gets bet all the way up. Now they're probably going to buy back a little bit. I feel bad for Indiana. They're getting zero respect, that I said at the beginning of the show, because, hey, if they don't lose closely, they should be out of the playoffs. Get that out of here. If this team was Penn State or Michigan or Alabama or Tennessee or some SEC team, it would have made a difference how the heck they lose, because they're losing to a top team in their conference. Complete joke. I partly want to see Indiana win this game, but I think the line, even open at 9.5 and getting up to 13-ish, tells me I think Ohio State is the play here.
Well, you mentioned that Indiana schedule, and it's noteworthy that Indiana is one of 13 college football teams that have not played an AP-ranked team this year or beat an AP-ranked team.
No.
Indiana doesn't have an AP-ranked win, but they're one of 13. You can say the same thing about Texas. You can say the same thing about A&M, Miami of Florida. There's other teams in that group, Clemson, and they'll even out at the end of the year because, teams like Texas and Texas A&M are going to play one on there. Somebody's going to win that football game. But Indiana, that's the knock for them, their schedule, and they haven't beat an AP-ranked team thus far this football season.
You can only play who's ahead of you. And they're not in the big bad SEC where the SEC gets 9 teams in the top 25 to start the year, and then you got teams that do absolutely trash. But you beat them when they were ranked.
Yep.
Not this nonsense. All right, an hour plus, Mark. We're going to let you get out of here, folks. Recapping today's free plays: 23-14 run here in the Football Friday show with Marc Lawrence, Victor King, and myself. The aforementioned Victor King likes the over. New England, Miami, 46. Marc Lawrence likes Carolina plus 11. I'm going Washington Commanders minus 10. These are the free picks. So, yes, they're free. Hit the like button. You get them all the time. The premium stuff at gamblersworld.net. Mark's got top game of the year going. Go get it. Go get the game of the year. I'm guessing it's going to win. pretty sure it's going to win. He's having a good football season. Victor King has the top game of the week. I just have rando games. I just put them in 3-packs. I feel whenever I hype up something, Mark, it's just bad news for me. It's when I go try to go over the top and like betting more than I should in my range, it always loses. I've learned my lesson after 30 years. I'm just going to chunk them out all the same and just grind away. That's how I roll.
Well, you're an experienced bettor, son, and that's how we get experience by learning our lessons. Exactly.
Right. So I've definitely learned my lessons that way. Still learning in the contest picks, but when it comes to my bankroll, I've learned, the fly in here. All right. Now it's craziness. All right. I got to go because I got a crazy fly in my room. For Marc Lawrence, Victor King, Winner Circle on Gamblers World. We will be back next week. We're not going to – I'm going to talk to Mark before that. So happy Thanksgiving in case I don't see you live for you, your family, the chat as well. But we will be back I think we'll be back live next Friday. Who knows? It's up to Mark and Victor if they want to come in. It's a holiday weekend. They could be shopping. I don't know. We got wives and things. Guys, if you're in a relationship, things happen.
Sean, it's Black Friday. You won't catch me anywhere near a mall on Black Friday, believe me.
Is that even a thing anymore? People does Amazon crap to their house?
Well, now it's a month before Black Friday sale,
I like going to the store. I like walking around and seeing people.
Well, you'll be able to do that Friday. I can guarantee you that.
I don't around anymore. All right, everybody.
I want to wish everybody out there a happy Thanksgiving as well. It's really a festive holiday, and just don't put too much whipped cream in that pumpkin pie. That's all.
Here's a fat update from me. Never had pumpkin pie in my life, Mark.
You haven't, no?
No.
Wow.
I'm a chocolate guy. No pumpkins. I don't want that healthy stuff.
Well, you can be both,
Not me. Although I'm not a Wendy's chili guy like Victor. But
I understand.
All right. Have a good one, Mark. Good seeing you. Good luck, everybody. See you next week.
Likewise, Sean. Thank you. Same to you. Best of luck this week, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.